are very happy to see you all here today. We're going to talk about the power of AI and how it can transform the learning and the learning content as well. So we're going to talk about many of those things. You're all here today probably because you know that AI is a powerful tool that can transform the very fabric of learning, right? But as with any powerful tool, there are challenges, there are benefits, there are many, many things. So today, we're going to talk about that exactly. We're going to go over the amazing challenges AI has to offer in the learning industry. We're also going to touch upon the painful challenges and risks that can go along with that. And we'll share our EPAM journey, our honest journey that we've taken and how we've approached this AI adoption in the learning sphere. But before we start, a bit about us. Who are we here today and what's EPAM actually? So my name is Iuliia and I'm the head of learning design services at EPAM. I'm from Eastern Europe and basically what I do is education, learning, and learning solutions at EPAM. And let me introduce my partner in crime, Oleg, here.
I'm one of the Iuliia's clients, and I'm going to represent the other side of the equation, using Iuliia's services for internal education on EPAM and our clients as well. So just to give you a little bit of the perspective of what EPAM is and how big is the challenge. So we're 30 years old. We are engineers by trade, engineering in our DNA, so we all love technology. But it's 53,000 of us. We're distributed across 56 continents and countries. And we speak many languages. We represent many cultures and many ways of approaching education.
Thank you. And I'm presenting EPAM from the side of an educator, right? EPAM is an enterprise that does engineering, but it's also an educator. And we have a long journey in the EdTech industry, over 2 decades. And we have a team that's really widely recognized, over 1,000 specialists that do learning. So yeah, that's basically about us as an educators. One of the good things about being an educator at a company as EPAM is that you can actually test different technological hypotheses quickly. So that's what we started doing very early on with AI. And that's why today we're sharing this story with you, and we'll hope you find it interesting. So today we are presenting the masterclass from like these 2 sides of EPAM, right? One of them is an educator, and one of them is an enterprise. The good thing about it is we are able to give you a real perspective on both the client and the provider of educational solutions. So Oleg, what do you think about this unique blend?
I think we're a very challenging client to your team because we're fast, we're curious, we're first movers. We would like to know very quickly everything about the new tech. And you guys need to deliver an excellent service to us because we're delivering that service to our clients. So I think it's a good testament of our partnership, and we build and learn together, and we got to drive the transformational change, both in education and in our delivery to our clients.
Thank you. All right, so let's get started. Today we'll share the story, right, of how AI can be used for benefits, how AI can be used for challenges, because it also presents, right, so much challenge, and we'll go over that as well, and our collective journey. But before we go into that, we want to learn a bit more about you. We have the Menti code here, so if you can just scan the QR code, we would be very grateful. If not, you can just raise your hand, and that works too. But basically, we wanted to learn what are your challenges in AI adoption. So many of you have probably worked on that, either tried integrating AI in work or, I don't know, just tried using it in different cases. What kind of challenges did you have? If you could just tell us briefly, we'll be very happy to hear about that. And if you want to raise your hand, that works too. Oh, here, thank you.
So there are 3 aspects of teaching and learning. You deliver, you assess, and you intervene. AI works in all 3 differently. So how do you put the 3 together? Because if you are doing AI in delivering is totally related to the assessment because that's how you personalize or adapt the lessons. So that's what my question is, how do you combine the three together?
Thank you very much. That's very important, right? How to combine all that. I hope we'll cover that today, but thank you for voicing that out. Anyone else wants to raise the hand, or are we looking at the Mantino? Okay, we have a couple of those. So I'll be reading from this screen because it's impossible to read from here. So we have finding a trustworthy vendor, data, providing unique value, concerns about protection of intellectual property, contact management. Okay, so much stuff. Oleg, what do you think?
So I think it's all valid, and it's part of the journey to use AI responsibly in the manner to see where the purpose is, where it drives the adoption. And then when we think about the adoption for enterprise, it's a lot of the nuanced programmatic approach that you would like to exercise, and it also will drive the change in your organization, because answering your questions, you have to use it differently for the purpose. So we will uncover some of that on the back of the engineering company. Some of that we're facing. Some of their experience I'm going to share from our clients where we work and adopting the AI together. And hopefully you get the gist of it, but we will talk more about this.
Yeah, and thank you very much for sharing the challenges, because I hope we'll be touching upon all of them. But if not, let us know and we'll continue the conversation later. So going ahead and starting with why AI adoption even matters, right? You can see on this slide how Gen AI is actually touching all aspects of your organization. Whether you're a learning organization or any other kind of company or enterprise, you can see that it's touching everything from platforms, processes, to people, from data to security to analytics, everything. So that's why adopting AI really matters, right? It not only changes one aspect, for example, efficiency, it changes basically everything. Today, we'll look onto this whole journey from the lens of people, right? Because it's people who change processes, it's people who build platforms, and it's people who are doing all this. So I suppose we should start with them and move on from there. So we'll take a look at the people, and when we talk about people, we talk about talent development, right? Skills development. So that's why we'll take this approach, and we'll look at AI adoption through the lens of learning. Okay, so starting with benefits of AI in education. You know there are probably so many, right? But we decided to put them in this kind of pyramid here. There are different levels, and you kind of you start with the very base and you move on up, and the higher you go, the more advanced the benefit is and the usage is. So the first one is instructional design efficiency, and it's pretty basic, and many of you are probably on this level, many of us here, right? The second one is learner engagement with AI, and we'll talk more about what that means. And the last one is seamless learning with AI. But before we move on to all those, I wanted to ask Oleg, as my client here. Oleg, where do you think we are as an organization, EPAM?
I don't want to brag too much about this, but I think we are in between 2 and 3. And partly is that we are adopted the AI from the instructional design perspective quickly. But we realize that we have to change our organization. We have to put together the processes. We have to put together the governance to making sure that there is a good use of AI. And then we faced with our adoption challenges, because despite what we're all engineers and we like to touch new technology, there is still the way to think about this as like, well, it may not gonna work for me. I know it better. So we faced with those type of challenges. So it's actually the work and the journey. I'm glad that our organization stepped on this early, and then we actually use Iuliia's team to help us to transform and learn. Because I learned back my coding skills because of the tooling that you put together that assisted me into getting to know the syntax.
That's so good to know. Thank you. All right, so let's move into what these levels actually mean. So starting at the level 1, instructional design efficiency. This is the easiest level to achieve, right? But that's also the level that presents probably the most number of challenges, the biggest number of challenges. At this level, the L&D team interacts with AI, right? So you can generate, I don't know, avatar videos, AI voiceovers, content, quizzes, all of that. Can I get a quick show of hands? Who's already trying this? Who is already on this level? Okay, we can see like about a half of the organization. Okay, great. Exactly. So what are the actual benefits that this level gives? Well, the biggest benefit is efficiency, right? I love to say that whenever you're adopting a tool, it's easier to start with a problem and not with the technology. So I think the problem that all of us have, many of us have here, is efficiency, right? How to boost it, time to market, how to reduce it, costs, how to cut the costs, especially nowadays in this kind of like environment that we're in. So that's where Gen AI really helps us. It helps to boost efficiency, it helps to cut costs, it helps to reduce the time to market. So what we did at IPAM, and here I want to share a bit of our story. What we did is we've actually decided to take a look at the whole cycle of a learning solution creation. And I'm going to show it to you here. We've taken a look at the whole cycle. How do we create a learning solution? Where do we start? Where do we end? We've outlined challenges at each part of this learning solution cycle creation. We decided that maybe those challenges can be solved with the help of AI. So that's where we started building hypotheses. How can AI help us? And after building hypotheses, testing them out, receiving feedback, right? Testing out again and receiving feedback and iterating, we've understood that Gen AI really helps. And you can see already here the boost we were able to achieve while using Gen AI tools. And let me actually get into even more detail here. So here you can see a graphic of how long it took us to create 1 hour of learning content before using Gen AI, and you can see it's about 40 hours. It's different for different complexity levels, right? Because the more complex the content, the more SME work we have to do, the more interviews and all that. The less complex, maybe the process is a bit easier. You can see that with using Gen AI, we were actually to achieve a very good boost, and the same is true for quiz questions. Right, it used to take us about an hour to create about 5 quiz questions, good ones with feedback, the working ones. The time got reduced really significantly. And I know that many of you probably want to learn about numbers as well. What about costs? So here, let me hand it over to Oleg to talk about numbers.
So the proof is always in the pudding, right? When I'm looking at it from the business perspective, all the efficiencies are good in each stage, but how much money I can free up to reinvest into your new capability development. When we start looking into this across the entire life cycle, the entire life cycle is important because in early experimentation we saw 20% here, 30% there, fascinating numbers, but when you look into this, what a production cost look like from the TCO perspective, it presents total different picture because somebody may be 20% more efficient in what they're doing, but when it comes down to, well, I've done my work, now I'm handing over to you, and then you picking up, and then there's still delay. When we start really looking at from the end-to-end perspective, we start finding the opportunity for savings. In these calculations, we use arbitrary rate for ourselves, $62 an hour across the board as blended. But you can see in the dollars how much money and effort could be saved and then reinvested into your new capability development. So that creates an interesting opportunity for reinvestment into your new product experiences.
Thank you. All right, so that's the efficiency, right? But let's move on. Next level. So when we move past efficiency, what's out there in terms of AI and benefits for learning? Well, that's the level where a learner engages with AI actively. And that's where we're talking not only efficiency benefits, but effectiveness benefits, right? So here, the biggest problem I think that we can try and solve, right? If we are having this mindset of starting with a tool, with a problem, not with a tool, sorry. So the problem here is learner retention, learner effectiveness, the results, the ratings, all that, everything that learners do, we really want to boost engagement. And that's where this level comes in handy. In terms of like, what do you actually do at this level, right? How do you show that this level works? Well, this is through the usage of AI-powered chatbots, scenarios, personalized tasks, and all that. This is where the learner understands they are interacting with AI, but they are already actively engaged in this process. And as always, let me share our story here, what we did at EPAM to achieve this level. Again, we started with a problem, and we have a lot of self-paced courses, as probably many of enterprises, large organizations do. In those self-paced courses, the problem that students have is lack of support, right? Lack of emotional connection. They do not really have an opportunity to ask a question. So we decided that it would be really good to create an AI assistant who will be there in every self-paced course, who will be helping out the students along the way. They can ask a question, they can ask for a challenge, they can, I don't know, get to it for support, anything. So that's what we created, and we're going to show you in just a second. The other thing we did to really boost effectiveness is AI-powered task check-in assistant. So this is where students do the Aura assignments, right? Open response assignments, where they actually type in the response, either an essay, a coding task, anything of that sort. Usually, what we had to do is employ mentors who would be given feedback. But as you know, mentor capacity is always limited. It takes so much time for a mentor to actually read through all the tasks and give elaborate feedback. So what we tried doing is automating a mentor and creating an AI-generated one. And now students are getting the feedback in seconds. It's personalized, it's there, and they can continue with their learning. So that's where the effectiveness boost is happening. All right, so now we wanted to show you a quick demo, just so you can see how that works, right? Just so we're not just saying it, but we're also showing it. This is an AI tutor I was talking about. You can see this is a self-paced course on our LMS. And there in the corner, there is a button that student clicks and starts interacting with an AI tutor. When you ask questions about the course, in this case, I'm sorry if you can't see, but I'm asking a question about the course content. I'm saying that I'm struggling with a concept that I can't understand. What it does first, it asks you who you are, just to kind of like understand the perspective. Are you a student? Are you a specialist? Are you a subject matter expert? And then it not only answers your question like a ChatGPT, right? But it actually prompts you to produce, to retrieve information. So it helps you with learning retention, knowledge retention, and skill retention. So this is kind of how it works, back and forth. It starts asking you something, it starts giving you bits of info, supporting you along the way. Oleg, your client perspective on that.
So from a client perspective, I would like to share a few anecdotes because we apply the same techniques not just for ourselves, but for also our kind of K-12 business and clients in a K-12 space. We look into STEM disciplines, and then we build tutors for different grades, and it's actually very effective. It creates a little different engagement strategy, but with the opportunity to drive the Socratic modes and then drive that experience with within their student ecosystem, in a classroom, within the student ecosystem, at home with parents. And with AI specifically in their tutoring component that this team built, we created accelerated journey for our clients as well, with adapting it to their specific business needs and a kind of K-12 grading. On a social studies, it comes with a lot of nuances, and you have to be cognizant of the state standards and all, and that creates additional kind of hurdle, but that is something that we can overcome through the more intelligent content design and the creation as well.
Thank you very much. And that's it with level 2. So you're probably all excited for level 3. What does that mean? So let's take a look at that. And this is where, that's probably the peak, right? That's where we want to go, right? But we're still not there, I think, as a society. So here, this is about seamless learning with AI. That's where the learners interact with it, but they don't even realize it's AI, right? It's so natural, it's so in the flow of work, it's just where you need it, right? You may not even come to it to like a learning solution, right? You may not even realize the need, but it's already there to support you, to give you the material, to kind of like upskill you where you need it most. And that's the level 3. So as Oleg said previously, and I will agree, we're still not there as EPAM. We're trying, but we're trying to make baby steps, and we already have a few things that we wanted to show you that we are doing to approach this level. So here are 2 things that we were trying to do to kind of like get there. The first thing is learning through seamless AI. What we tried to do is creating a gamified AI solution, right? So when people are playing games, they do not really realize they're learning, right? They're playing, they're having fun, and in this particular case, they were playing with AI. And we're going to show you, again, a bit of a demo in just a second, but that's one thing that we tried to do. Another thing is AI-powered learning platforms. So when the platform is AI is hidden under there, right? So it's not even understandable. In this particular case, we created a coding assistant where you kind of like get on, you ask it a question, for example, I want to learn Java or something, and it guides you both with voice, with code, with instructions, with everything. It like embraces you and gives you, I don't know, a warm virtual hug like a buddy, and gets you through all of the stages of this new skill. So let's take a look. What's an AI games? So this was, again, as I said, kind of like an experiential learning thing that we tried doing. And here you can see that there are a couple of games we created, actually. They have funny names. For example, for this one, it's a discount duel. And the goal of this game is to get the best price for the carpet at the carpet shop in, let's imagine, somewhere, I don't know, an exotic location. So the goal of this game is, of course, to have fun and to win, because there is a goal. You can win. The lowest price you get, that means you have a chance to win. But it also actually helps you to train negotiation skills. And after you finish this game prompts you to take a negotiations course if you lost. So you're kind of realizing this need in the moment. Maybe I'm not that good at negotiations. I wasn't able to get a good price on the carpet, so maybe I have to take a negotiations course. But through this process of like playing and getting the better price, what people were also doing is they were playing with AI instrument, prompting, and getting more and more interested in what AI is, how that works, and what kind of other games they can create. What we've seen after we've launched this at EPAM is people getting more and more interested in the way AI works and coming to us and asking, oh, I had this idea of a new prompting game. Can we try making that? How do I make a system prompt, right? How does it all work? And after people got so interested, we had a rush of people just coming to the platform learning about prompting, AI, how that all works. So it has a couple of goals, yeah, I would say. So let me hand it over to Oleg back to give a client perspective on this.
So when we look at it from the adoption perspective, and prompting is as a new programming language, right? So they used to say it's a Java, everybody speaks Java, but nowadays everybody speaks English in the programming. But it's not as easy as it seems. Like, I've seen prompts for half a page long to get their scientific information from medical coding, for example. But in order to get to that level of efficiency, it actually takes a smart person to operate with a smart agent, and gamified experience can actually help. Like for me, it was an eye-opening when I saw the code assistant. I decided to go back to coding. I haven't coded Java for more than 10 years. And then my background is Java Spring 2, which is very old. And I tried to code Python, and it guided me how to use the syntax very well. So that creates an opportunity for adoption, increasing the numbers of the curiosity on the people who are various age and the various job functions, may not be as advanced in the technology.
Thank you for that. All right, and we've looked at the benefits, I hope you got inspired in how AI can be used in learning. But now it's time to look at the challenges because we've kind of announced there'll be both, right? And when you are approaching AI adoption, you probably see it right away, right? There are so many good things about AI, how to apply it, how to implement it, instant benefits, but also under there are lots of risks and lots of challenges. So let us kind of talk about them very quickly. We've put them on this pyramid as well, just so it's kind of like easier to explain where each challenge can be found. And the first one that usually comes in instructional design efficiency stage is, you probably guessed it, quality, right? When we are aiming for quantity, when we are aiming for efficiency, what we are losing is quality. Texts get less and less interesting. There are errors, there are faults. All of that can happen while we're boosting efficiency and seeing the gains in numbers. So we'll have to look out for that. And I wanted to actually share an honest story of our AI adoption. We've had our share of failures as well. And when we, very early on in 2022, when we started doing this, adopting AI, seeing crazy boosting, like how fast we were creating learning solutions, we went through the stage of user acceptance testing, right? So that's where we actually show the content we created to the students and get their feedback. And what we got was an unexpected feedback because we've actually worked on the content, even though it was AI generated, we've reworked and we've refined and we've fact checked. But students told us the things you can see on the slide, right? You can see it's AI generated, it's unengaging, it's the same words over and over. We don't like it. Please go back to the way it was before. The way we solved it was through, first of all, enhancing AI literacy skills, prompting skills, trying out a few different things of how you can prompt the engine just to make sure that the content that you're getting is more similar to the one that human produces. Iteration, of course, right? So testing and refining. And the last thing is reviewing again, so going through the stages of student review. But I think the biggest lesson here is that it's not a good idea to like rush into this AI adoption and to just go into it head first, because in this case, this is what you will see. You will be losing quality, and that's not a good thing. One more challenge that can be associated with the AI adoption is, especially on the second level, when you are starting to engage your learners with AI, it's the learner losing the trust, right? If you're not doing the AI adoption correctly, if you haven't gone through all the stages, created AI literacy for all the team, worked on that, maybe outlined the challenges you're solving, what you can create are assistants and tutors and chatbots that are error-prone, that are faulty. In this case, students will start using them, students will start interacting with them, but they will see that the information it's getting is just not correct. In this case, the learners lose trust. You probably know that, right? Very easily. And there's no going back, or going back is really difficult. And the last thing, when you are getting to this last stage of seamless integration with AI, the thing that can happen here is dehumanizing the experience. Humans do not like learning from the machines. They require social and emotional connection. So that's where AI adoption also needs to be done correctly and gradually. And even this like highest levels of AI adoption need to be done with the human in mind, with empathy in mind. So like this gradual AI adoption will get you there. But again, rushing into it will just create a dehumanized thing that nobody will want to use. Okay. So going back to our original topic, right? AI is touching every aspect of the organization. It's important to start with adoption very early on. The adoption will take you through all these stages, improve all these components, and make you a Gen AI-enabled organization. And talking about adoption, right? I'm saying adoption, 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 and you're probably thinking, what is adoption? How do you create adoption correctly? And that's one of the ways to create adoption correctly. That's what EBAM is helping to do. And here, let me pass it over to Oleg to talk about this metrics a bit more.
So when you think about adoption, you have to commit the entire organization to it. You have to start from the fundamentals. You have to build the tools. You have to build the ecosystem. You build the training. You build the platform to use AI responsible and fit for purpose. You have to apply the governance process internally and externally because your company context is important to you, and then you need to leverage it all the time. But also, you would like to build your champions, your early adopters, who will drive the adoption of AI. Like, Iuliia, she was passionate from the beginning to drive and drill it into the education space. So then we picked up and started then that sparked and created the push with the others. But also the mastery and craft of their prompting, and this training is very crucial for both the end users who are interacting with the system, as well as the folks who are actually producing the content and learning materials to it. So it's kind of like double-edged sword in terms of not training one or training one or another. And then if you look about their EPAM is the data-driven company. We've always been collecting and measuring all of our activities. So we're checking the progress at every stage of their life cycle in terms of like where are we from the use of AI in the production ecosystem. Like many of our clients, because we produce software, many of our clients are asking us to help them to produce software faster, cheaper, with AI in mind, running co-pilots, running agentic-based development. That requires the organization, the process itself, as well as bringing the talent that AI ready, if you will, with all the prompting skills and experiences of applying this in their job functions. So you think of a business analyst or a tester or an architect who is building next generation composable architecture. So all of those roles are required, or they pass through the training and enablement that Iuliia and the team created.
Thank you. So this is really a big process, right? So it's not only let's implement ChatGPT and tell people to try using it or develop hypotheses and test it. Gen AI adoption is a big process. So what if you want to take on this process? What if you're ready to start? Well, there are a couple of things we'll recommend, or you can see the 5 ways to get started. That's where we are going to end this, but basically what you need to do is first of all evaluate different key considerations, and you can see the questions there, right? Questions about either a learning culture in place. Are you ready for AI adoption? Have you thought through what if AI is going to be adopted? How will the roles change in learning team, in people team, and HR team, and for the whole rest of the organization, right? Next thing is, how can AI be applied for existing learning content if you have that? What can you do with it? What can you do with this legacy content? You don't want to just remove it altogether, right? You spend so much time on creating that. How AI should be adopted for each particular role. A lot of times we're thinking about, for example, one person, or I don't know, instructional designers, content developers, or whatever. But there are so many other roles. So how will AI be helping them? What do they need to learn, unlearn, right? Where do they need to upskill? That's a very important question to ask and to think about. And next thing is adoption of successful AI use cases. So when you are creating this AI adoption and you're going onto this journey, it's very important to share those success stories, to showcase how it works. And lastly, of course, pitfalls. We've shared our share of failure today with you, right? So it's important to do in any organization when you're doing this AI adoption thing. Sharing pitfalls, sharing challenges, discussing how this can be overcome and how to avoid all that. So yes, that's basically what you can do to start, but there are so many other things we would love to talk about with you, because AI adoption is not only for learning, right, content, for learning activities, it's for so many other things. So if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. We'll be happy to continue in the conversation. And we'll be here today, all day, if you want to find us and talk about it more. You can see we're super excited to talk about this stuff. If you want to download the AI adoption guide for learning teams, basically some of the slides that we've been showing today, here is a QR code to do that. And We also have another session here today at 4 p.m. By Natalia Soboleva and Sandra Laughlin, sitting there. And it's going to be about a new kind of university and skills-based organization. So come on up here to continue the conversation. Thank you very much.